Did it ever cross your mind to think about federal politics?
It has not crossed my mind for a couple of reasons. But listen, I love this country, and I think that the things we can do here in Nova Scotia when we just move on issues and move quickly to solve problems, I think people across the country can see that too. We can be a good example. We're, just a little over 1 million people. We're kind of the right size. We can be nimble and we can move. And then when we move, others can follow. So I think we've had a positive impact from Nova Scotia, certainly in lots of elements of healthcare delivery. No question about that. And I think right now we're on the verge as a country of fixing this whole interprovincial trade barriers and mess that we've created over decades. I think we're really on the verge of dismantling that and opening up true free trade across Canada, free trade in our own country. It's so critical right now. We've been reminded of that with the kind of world events. So I think I love this province. I love this country. I'm focused on Nova Scotians and helping move this province forward. And I think there's work to be done, but we're making progress.
Well, unless you've got something specific, a specific issue in mind to talk about this morning, I just want to kind of carry on with that conversation, speculate just a little bit. I like everybody else, of course, especially those in the media, we think we have an inner pipeline to the truth. We don't, of course, but we think we do. And we keep hearing things about you and your family and kind of the things you've said as Premier about having a short window of opportunity, things like that. The rumor machine would have us believe that your wife is not it doesn't look kindly at the world of politics, and that your entry into politics might have been a little bit over her objection, but she's been with you at every step of the way, and it's kind of like some could say she's given you your space. Is that space limited to this run as Premier, or is there a possibility that a draft movement could bring you into federal politics?
I think it's one of those things. You never say never. You look for where's the best opportunity to make the most impact on your community and your province. And so, look, I'm honored to be Premier. I wake up every day. It's just I recognize the responsibility. I feel the weight of doing good things for Nova Scotians. That's my focus right now. I mean, Carol and I have been married 30 years this summer. We support each other. We care about our province, and I think it has an impact on a family for sure. So when I first got involved in politics, I guess my kids were 13 and 12 years old. So now they're adults, starting their careers and then making their own way in the world. But I think it's been a positive experience for my family. I mean, sometimes you have some people that they say haters gonna hate. You have some of those people who wouldn't have a kind thing to say about me if I pulled them out of the pool when they were drowning, But that's just those people are really in the minority. We're all Nova Scotians. We're all Blue Nosers. We care about each other. We have opinions on things. I respect those that have opinions, and I thank them for that. And sometimes I change my own mind after hearing those opinions. I think that's the way it's supposed to work. But no, it's been a positive experience for my family, and my family is supportive. My kids have been to lots of events with me. My kids have worked on my campaign, door knock with me. They're supportive, and of course Carol's been there all along. But it's definitely a family commitment, and I tell that to people when they think about getting involved. But it's positive for me, and I think the fact that we're able to feel some momentum for our province. We have challenges, but we're really looking to make generational changes in healthcare, in our economy, and now the economy of the country as well. And those are exciting things, and I think everyone gets excited about that opportunity.
Oh, no question about it. And it begs the question, too, though. You said several times we're Blue Nosers. We have a different kind of perspective on life, and one could make an easy argument to suggest that we are conservative by nature, but progressive conservative by nature. And we're in the middle of an election campaign that, maybe 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, everybody would have said, well, Poilievre is going to win because we're just tired of the Liberal dynasty. We're tired of a party that says one thing and does another. And yet they keep reinventing themselves by coming up with a new leader. And now, 4 weeks later, it looks like the Liberals might win again. And people are already pulling out the knives from the sheaths from about Poilievre because he had it in his hand, he had it in the bag, and it seems to be gone. But I think it's more difficult than that because you and he are different. Nova Scotians, the Blue Nosers you talk about, and the Conservatives of Western Canada are different. People want something different than the Liberal legacy, but they want something more progressive. And I know that the Member of Parliament for Cumberland-Colchester has commented on this program before that you don't necessarily support the Conservative movement because you are progressive Conservative. And it looks like, once again, the Conservative movement of Canada is going to lose because it's fragmented. And what it really needs is a realization that Canadians are middle-of-the-road people. They're all wannabe Blue Nosers, let's put it that way. And, we look at the leadership you've shown in recent months in the national stage, and one can't help but say, you know what? This guy's got something going on. He was able to break the Liberal stronghold and then smash it to bits, and he's that kind of middle-of-the-road guy. It seems the Conservative Party of Canada can't accept that, but they also can't win. What do you think?
Well, I guess a couple of things. I mean, the election will be decided on election day. So certainly people will decide, and people can change their mind back and forth a couple times between now and then based on the things that matter to them. And I think that's really the key is, you have to govern with compassion. People get involved in politics because they care. I believe that, no matter the party. So you have to govern with compassion and lead with compassion. I'm a progressive, true progressive Conservative. I care about the finance of the province. I care about people, and you can never lose sight of that. So I think when people are campaigning and they show up at your doorstep, or you reach out to them, you ask them about the things that matter to you, to get a sense of as to whether those are the same things that matter to them. And then ultimately people don't want to have to think about politics or politicians. People say that to me all the time, that like, I don't want to think about it, Tim. Like, I'm counting on you to think about it, and I'm counting on you to make a similar decision that I would make, given the same information. And the other thing that I say is it's, politics is kind of a little bit like a buffet. You go to the buffet, you don't necessarily like everything that's laid out on the buffet, but if there's enough there that you can kind of fill your plate and have a good meal, there's enough things you agree on, that's kind of the best you can do, because we're all people. So we won't necessarily agree on everything, but if we agree on most things, and certainly on the major things, and those are the type of people you want to get behind. So I think, the party political system, it can be very, very rigid, but certainly as a leader, I try to listen very carefully to my caucus and listen very carefully to different points of views and different ideas and approaches and perspectives, and then kind of merge them all together. And as the leader, I got to make the final decision, but it should be informed, and it should be with compassion. So, look, there's a couple weeks left in the federal election campaign. As the Premier of Nova Scotia, I've kind of reached out to the two front runners with the concerns, and shared the concerns of Nova Scotians and the things that matter to Nova Scotians that we'd be looking to the federal government to kind of work with us on. Proper funding for the ISMIS, fixing the childcare agreement. The $10 a day daycare is a great thing, but Nova Scotia got a really terrible deal on that, and so we want them to kind of fix that to support Nova Scotian families. And then make investments, investments in our natural resources, investments in our wharves, investments in high-speed rail, so people can get around to work and stuff. So these are kind of major things, kind of almost on the financial side of the equation. But the main side of the equation is caring about people and caring about things that matter to people.
Well, it's interesting you talk about those items, like a menu of items you'd like to have to pick from with federal government help. And you said earlier about how we're on the precipice of breaking down the barricades and barriers that have existed between the provinces, a golden opportunity given to us by one Donald Trump to reinspect and reinvigorate our country, in fact. And having said that, you played a senior leadership role as well in terms of trying to deal with Donald Trump, an impossible task at best, and preparing for the next shoe to fall kind of thing. Where do we stand? You've spent a number of trips into the U.S. You've spent some trips into other countries talking about trade and the need for cooperation. We're not getting it from the States. Do you turn your back and look at somebody else exclusively? Or do you keep going to try to talk to a man that just doesn't seem to listen?
Yeah, so this is it's an interesting time in the world for sure, and Canadians and Americans, these are long-standing relationships. I mean, we've fought side by side in wars and been through depressions and been through all kinds of turmoil in the world as friends and as family members. Lots of us have family connections in the United States as well. So this is not a beef between Americans and Canadians. It's really about one person and his ideas on how the world should be formed. So our relationship has survived many things, and it will survive this administration. Canadians and Americans are going to be working together for, until the end of time. It would be my hope. But at the same time, there's a little bit of a lesson to be learned here. We can't put all of our eggs in one basket. So we definitely need to look to diversifying, finding new markets. So all of our seafood or all of our whatever products we have or goods and services, they're not all going to one market. They're going to various markets. It's a big world out there. So I've certainly been, at the seafood show in Boston. I'll go to the seafood show in Barcelona to look for international customers for our incredible product that we have. I've just came back from a trip to Denmark where I was talking to them about sharing ideas on healthcare, also talking about offshore wind and the potential for offshore wind and the markets for, that type of clean, green energy. We have enough, if we developed our offshore wind, we have enough there to power Canada. It's absolutely amazing the resource that we have there. We have to develop it safely and sustainably and all those things, but we need a market for it. And then at the same time, as we could be an exporter of clean energy from wind, and that potential is amazing, and hydrogen has amazing potential. The Bay of Fundy is still untapped. Imagine when we have the wind we developed and hydro and the Bay of Fundy. Nova Scotia has every potential to be supplying the clean energy that the world wants. It's sustainable, it's renewable, and then we can deliver rate sustainability to Nova Scotians. And there's a lot that's possible, and being partners with the United States and that massive market that's right on our doorstep is going to be important. But also having other partners in other parts of the world and diversifying is incredibly important right now, and that includes within our country, other provinces and territories. So there's a lot on the go. As much as there's turmoil, there's so much opportunity right now, and that's what really gets me excited.
And of course, as you well know, your Minister of Natural Resources, Tory Rushton, and I have had that conversation about the potential almost every week, and it's mind-boggling, as you describe, that we have enough resources to be able to power the world in many respects, and that goes beyond most people's thinking. And at the same time, technology advancing so quickly, so rapidly, changing almost monthly, you might say. And now, of course, the addition of artificial intelligence that's hastening all of the things we do. Do you see Nova Scotia capturing those elusive powers, the wind, the Bay of Fundy, and so on, in our lifetime?
Have to. Certainly the wind. Canada as a country, now if you stop and think about this, Canada as a country with our vast shorelines and potential has today zero offshore wind. But offshore wind is not new. They're doing it in many, many parts of the world, just we haven't done it in Canada. So the offshore wind stuff, we need the pricing to come down a little bit. We're going to have to invest in some infrastructure. But I think, if we're smart about it, we can start to realize that potential. Certainly quickly, I think, in a decade for sure. But so that's the focus. The technologies around the Bay of Fundy, the tidal stuff, all the hydro stuff, those technologies continue to evolve. But you have to remember that resource is the most incredible resource in the world. If you took every river in the world and added them all together, you might come close to the strength and power of the Bay of Fundy at the changing of the tides. Every single river in the world added together, you might come close. So this is certainly a one-of-a-kind resource, and that is proving difficult to harness because of its strength. But there's still lots of research going on, and we need to really get going on that. The research kind of stopped here in Nova Scotia, some challenges with DFO. But I believe that we can kind of restart that and really lead the way. So that one's a little further out because it's so massive. But that our economy in Nova Scotia looks a lot different when that's harnessed and the wind is there, and when we're developing our natural resources. Then we can pay for more services that people have a right to expect, and hopefully find a way where people can participate in the development. So there's lots of potential, and there's discussions to be had and research to be had, but we have these opportunities, and there are many jurisdictions that are sitting around scratching their head saying, well, what can we do? Because they don't have anything to do. But we have them. We just have to work together to develop them.
Let's close with a similar note on which we opened. I think back about 6 years ago, you were opposition leader in Nova Scotia. You had committed to come on this program on a regular monthly basis. And one day I surprised you about 6 months before a provincial election. And I said something roughly to the effect of, when you become the premier, will you continue to come on our program? And you really choked on it a little bit at first, and then you came back and said yes, and you're still here. So I'll ask you today, when you become Prime Minister, will you continue to be on our program?
Listen, I don't see that on the horizon, certainly not at this stage, but I will assure you that I enjoy these discussions and look forward to them, and will continue to do them in whatever capacity.
Keep in mind, I was right the first time.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Keep laughing. I know that not every day is the day brings you smiles. So if I brought you a smile today, at least I've done my job.
I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.